Is it time to go ahead? Are you going to have some
Yeah,
introduction?
if you don't mind, and if there is no way to use the camera, you can go ahead without the camera, and after I introduce you, inshallah,
Yes,
if you're
please.
ready.
Yes, please. I'm ready.
Great. Okay, assalamu alaikum and good evening, everybody. Welcome back from your vacation. As you can see, today's workshop is going to be about creative writing, and this workshop is going to be presented by Dr. Muhammad Hassin Ahmed. Muhammad Hassin is a writing specialist instructor at the English Language Institute, and he's been teaching for more than 22 years in the capacity of being an ardent English language specialist by catering to the learning needs of EFL and ESL students at varying levels of different nature of language development through academic English, English for specific purposes, business English, IGCSE, SAT, like international testing system, and immersion programs in a bilingual backdrop. Dr. Hassin's always Dr. Hassin always presents on challenging topics and creative topics actually. At the Academic Center, he presented on descriptive and narrative essays, editing and revising skills, how to write and develop research questions, how to write a reflection paper, basic components of a research paper. And today you'll enjoy a very valuable workshop about creative writing presented by our creative presenter, Dr. Hassin. Dr. Hassin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Kamal. It was so gracious of you to have introduced me in such a glowing terms. Probably this topic is really dear to my heart because I always aim for bring about some creativity and amount of even at least an out of creativity in whatever you do, and I'll try to bring about the elements of being really spontaneous and original and creative in whatever tasks we take up. But now I'm concerned with how to empower young learners through creative writing, and as creative writing involves lots of experiments with genres, and it's a bit in contrast to the other technical sorts of writing, which are so in one sense it's not a usual writing. It's very different, and it's it takes a toll on your imagination. So creative writing is all about developing or embarking on an exciting journey into the unknown world and into the world of uncertainties, into the world of perplexity, into the world of so far hitherto unknown, and sometimes could be quite bizarre because when we talk about the creativity, it should know no bounds. We don't have to rein in our imagination. We have to let it, in fact, take its own flight in the sense that it should have the artistic self-expression of every individual who aims at bringing about some sort of creative piece of art. And that's what art is all about. When we think of science and arts, we often wonder what is this art all about and why do we need arts in our life. In fact, science may provide us for foods and comforts and all that, but actually we live for art, not for the art's sake, but for giving brightness, charm, and new facet or dynamism to our living. So, creative writing genres might include poetry, fiction, and even non-fiction. And I'm going to talk about all sorts of genres, how we can inculcate our learners, our writers, even our practicing teachers, our colleagues, how we can inspire ourselves with the kind of prompts and creative exercises. So, creating compelling characters, obviously, events happen around the characters and vivid setting. So setting is very important, whether it's scary or whether it's pleasant or whether it's... So the stories are brought to life and captivate the readers only through the setups, through the characters, through the twists and turns, through the narratives. I mean, we can have our unimaginable or bizarre kinds of narratives, but the whole idea is that we should have irresistible and grabbing the readers or writers, all the target audience by their neck. So exploring the writing styles, every writer has their own distinct style, whether it's novelist or dramatist, or some of the writers, they indulge in stream of consciousness. Some of them, they have their own very free verse, where we don't go by the mechanistic or technical aspects of the writing. And what is this creative writing is all about? This is about harnessing the immense power of language. Language, in totality, or every word has its own power, and I believe so far that no word can be substituted with another. Every word is potent enough on its own, and we can use metaphors, similes, imageries. The right language can evoke emotions and create lasting impressions. So when we use imageries and similes, which just not, we don't simply compare the two things with the help of like or as. In fact, we start assuming as if two altogether different things have become one. Probably, like if your writing table or writing pen starts talking to you in metaphorical ways, and you personify the pen to be the mouthpiece of your ideas and all, and then you start conjuring up vivid images, that's what going to enrich your writing a lot. So it inculcates lots of emotional evocation, and it will have a lasting impression only if it's imbued with, if it's submerged, and it's really soaked with the kind of embellished languages, and I call it kind of decorated languages or embellished language. And this is what I'll be aiming for, the how to enrich language per se by the right kind of literary devices, we call them. There are many, but basically I'll focus on essentials like imagery and irony and personification, similes and metaphors. And also I'll talk about some of the mechanical aspects like clarity, coherence, and impact. And revising, also continuous improving the writing skills can be brought about through honing the skills and practicing. And writing requires lots of practicing. That's what we have witnessed throughout the year, that we have been having loads of workshops on every aspect of writing, with the kind of constructive feedback and the peer sharing and mentoring and growing. And as a seasoned writer, as an impassioned writer, as a successful writer, as an author, and or even as simply as a student, to impress upon our teachers to get the good grades. So every individual has a writer's block. Everyone has heard of it. This is something inhibiting. It's stifle. It's really it's like impediment to the expressions of your thoughts on it, because you have got it in your head, but you need to jerk it. I mean, and that won't come from the knee-jerk approach. So usually there are some strategies like we can indulge in free writing exercises or time writing, where we give fixed time to simply express whatever comes to your head without even gleaning the ideas and on free writing. And mind mapping really helps. Why? Because it allows you to broaden your aspects and the points that to include it. And it also changes the perspective as you get along by the writing of the first draft and second draft and final draft. And writing block, there is no medical diagnosis for us, and we cannot administer any medicine for that. In fact, it's up to the individual how he can unleash his creativity to the best of his abilities by embracing and by encouraging himself to evoke emotion, the right emotions, the right audience, and how to be concise and impactful, and how to be experimental with all the rhymes and rhythms and imagery. And I mean, when it comes to poetry composition, but like short stories, often young writers, we have our own story. I mean, in fact, all of us have our own stories, life stories, to build up upon, to draw on experiential learning that we have. And in the limited time and space, we can teach some of the developmental plot progressions, and we can bring about, add to the plot, subplots, and we can have effective pacing to craft compelling short stories. But it's a strenuous and stringent task that takes its own time in polishing the way we can. So obviously, we cannot live without the real world affairs, and we always think of sharing our terms in the real world, factuals. But there is another world also that's other than the facts, and those facts can be delineated in the factual writing and in the technical writing, like email and reports and journalistic writing, where we cannot indulge in our own biases and emotions, and or being green with envy, and we give colors. And so non-fiction pieces allow you more room. I mean, I would say that more room, because you can fly to the highest possible zenith, and that zenith is achieved only when you don't rein in your imaginative faculty, and you really get to put the imagination the cornerstone of creative writing. And imagination knows no bounds, in fact. And imagination paves the way for bringing about reality in our life. And all of these inventions and discoveries have been made possible only through being imaginative. Someone thought of flying with like birds, and that's why we are flying in the air. Or someone thought of how to unravel the mysterious pyramids and looking at it. That's how we get to know about what the pyramid, what lies inside the pyramids. So we need to create and celebrate. So this creative journey, young writers, empowering them, practical tips, and also to encourage our young writers to feel free to also to not restrict yourself through any of the impediments that might come to the. So to begin with, we can allow our young writers to go for complete freedom. I'm like, don't restrict. I mean, we don't have to restrict our own, and we don't have to even get to be bring out a penalty if the child doesn't come about what it needs to be expressed. So fullest potential to express every individual to the extent that would allow all the young budding learners to express them in their. Some of the examples and metaphor I was talking about, and I'm going to give you how these metaphors, similes, with measures, like it just to introduce metaphors create a comparison between two things that are not literally related. So I can say that the sun was a flaming globe in the sky. I can say that if I have to say that, oh, I was a tiger roaring in front of my, classmates, and oh, I showed so much of courage. So I was a tiger, I was a Newton, I was, like this, a direct comparison. So you assume yourself to have been changed into someone else. So you could be Einstein, you could be, male, female, you could be the head of institutions. Similes there is restricted because we always say that it's like that, and it's not, like it's something as it is. So our institution is like like our mother. In India we say our institution of education is our mother. Personification is another very strong device that allows any non-living things into living, inanimate things into animate. So you can give life to anyone. Like the death was lurking, it was pouncing, it was marching towards his hands, and it grabbed my neck. So when we personify these things, like mother is could be, your mother could be personified as a goddess, as the one who cares for you and all that. So personification, it gives the characteristics. Hyperbole is an extreme exaggeration. Sometimes in image writing we need to use hyperbole because we can assume smaller things, petty things to be very big, massive, or massive things to be very small. Like we remember this Lilliput's in the Wonderland and Alice in the Wonderland and the Magic Lamp and all those. Onomatopoeia, that gives effects of in a reader's mind of exactly, it brings out the activity of the things. Like if we think of buzzing, immediately we think of bees. If things are buzzing, always think of the small children frolicking, and so this is another device. Alliteration is also a repetition of initial consonant, and like whenever I think of the sounds and imageries and all, I'm going to talk about all the sensory organs that we employed in expressing our imagination. So like, alliteration used the repetition of initial consonants, like the tree's trunk was thick and gnarled. This uses alliteration of the T sound to create a memorable image. Obviously, it doesn't come easy, but when we start thinking in terms of rhyming, like a song, like a baby rhyming, we always think of how we can have the same kind of words going together. And most powerful of all, imagery. Imagery creates vivid mental pictures by using descriptive language that appeals to the reader's senses. The salty breeze carried the sound of waves crashing the shore. So these essential literary devices, I would call it, for embellishing or making our imaginative writing decorative and more potential. So but it begins with some of the engaging, we can make it more engaging and playful. Why? By how I can teach our young writers to strategize it by the choice and relevance. Allow the student to choose topic they're interested in. I mean, like, we cannot force upon these things. Ask your children or your learners to think of what they really like to express about, what they have experienced this morning, last week, last year, in their vacations. Encourage them to come up with their own genre. I mean, like, don't impose whether they must write or to start with academic writing and journal writing and all those kind of things. Let them tell their story. Let them come up with a poetry of 4 lines and a couplet just to begin with. And even, I mean, journaling in the sense that everyday account, what time did they have the breakfast, who they met last night. And obviously, since we are living in the technological era, we can integrate some technology tools like, writing apps. We have plenty now. I mean, there are some websites or digital platforms. They create expressions. They also make writing more interactive. In fact, it makes them visually appealing and enjoying for young students. Make it a social activity. Like, writing should be enjoyed by everyone, not as a task, but as I'll say as a celebration, as a kind of building a sound foundation. And I'm going to share some of those brilliant images and prompts that would really let even the worst writers come up with some of the ideas they can have. So it's not just the kind of backdrop. It also tells us that if given the right prompts, we can have the right kind of activities involved, and we can have uh, a strong foundation. Now, what are the strong foundation that we need to? For example, I'm going to give some of the generation's ideas, like look at these unique ways of developing the writing habits. Emphasize the importance of regular writing practice. Like every day, just 2 lines, a couple of sentences, just a paragraph, because that would help them overcome the block. Encourage setting aside dedicated time. Every class we can have 5 to 10 minutes and space writing daily, and generating ideas. Especially, we can sometimes indulge in brainstorming, mind mapping, also observing the world around us, encouraging them to keep a journal, ideas notebook, and any thought. It's worth noting down that there's nothing right or wrong when it comes to image writing or free writing. So whatever prompts there are no guidelines for them. In fact, this is the area where they can really bring about their best of their observations. They can build strong foundations on. Later comes the grammar, vocabulary, and sentence structure. Obviously, they won't be marked because of their wrong and faulty expressions and all. They will be, they will have to learn, but they will learn on their own towards the, when the time happens, and once they're into writing, it goes about like speaking. When we catch the phrase in lexical sets and all that, we tend not to make mistakes, because even without knowing that we are making mistakes, we know that there's something right or something wrong. So it's about like let them give them some brief responses, like write a story about a mysterious door that appears in the middle of the forest. Now, if you open the floor, it's like they will come up with something. Like, suppose if I ask my audience here, what what comes to mind when think of a story where a mysterious door opens in the middle of the forest? Can you think of something quickly so that I can build upon that? Imagine you're a time traveler. Describe your journey to a significant historical event. So where would you like to visit? What would you like to visit? If you really I want you to come up with because I'm going to share some other prompts. Now, quickly, I want my audience to imagine as a time traveler, as a think of something. Where would you like to go? Which historical events? Don't go by this. This is about ancient Rome, witnessing grandeur, the Colosseum, and Rome. Supposedly, you are given as a colleague and all. What would your journey look like? What would a significant historical event would like to visit? Can you come with something in the chat box? I'm keeping around the chat box. Ibrahim Madani, and yes. Can you give me an input? Actually, I will be sharing multiple documents. So by the time you come up with something, this will help keep the pace going on. So in the chat box, I'm waiting for people to come up with some of ideas. You're a time traveler and you're going to go to some time in your future or in the past. Where do you like to be? Where do you go, and how is it going to be different? Any idea of how is it going to be different? Guys, any idea how it's going to be different? And why and how you're going to enjoy? Look at this, this prompt. Anything in the chat box? Mr. Madani, it's a challenge for you as well. If you are there, I want people to come up with their ideas of what kind of, if you had, they had a choice of time traveling, where they would be, where do they find? Because as you see here, there will be plenty of critics about the writing of our learners, young learners. There will be many talkers that they can write for hours and all that. But when it comes to writing, actual writing, it takes a toll on your imagination because the doers are not many. And I think, easy said than done. That's right, Corby. So doers are not many, they're a minuscule minority, those who can handle their pen, those who have the gift of the gab, those who can really take efforts in improving up the writing abilities. Even I'm talking about our own colleagues. And so just think of the kind of burden that the young learners they have and how difficult it is. So it's really, we have to be a doer. We don't have to be a talker. We don't have to be critical of what our young writers. So some of the visual prompts I will give you quickly, and I want people to engage in this journey of. Now, what are the imagery? You find it here. Can you think of some of the sensory organs? Yes, easier. Can you think of the sensory organs we're using for imaginative writing? What do you see in this picture? Mehdi Al Hamadi, my dear, can you tell me all the sensory organs quickly that we employ to? I think it's a prayer time, and I don't see many responses in the chat box. Anyway, it's quite obvious that we use our eyes and nose and mouth and ears and hands and yes, Mehdi. I was simply asking our colleagues to come out with the sensory organs that we employ to go ahead with our imaginative writing. We do them, and others also, like our writers, young writers, also do this. So these are the sensory organs. But there is one more sensory organ that's like intuition, our extrasensory perception that we hardly employ, and that's what counts in being yes. Yeah, I know. Yes. This is time for 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes hiatus. And this is a prayer time, I know. You need all your senses to be creative. Yes, Corby. I mean, if you employ all those senses, even if you fine-tune one of those senses, I'll tell you, you'll be a brilliant writer. You'll be a brilliant expressionist. Now, look at this. Imagination. As the story goes, fell asleep, woke up 20 years later, having missed out on some major change in the world. Now imagine that you have been lost and stranded somewhere. Imagine this really happened to someone that just woke up having missed the last 20 years of life. Explain to them that's different about the world and what they missed while they were asleep. I can identify this topic quickly. Why? Because I would say that I spent 25 years in this kingdom in Jeddah, and it's like a wake-up call. I mean, I left my own nation and country 20 years earlier, and now I'm waking up to a new reality because my life in my country was altogether different, and I have imbibed, I have assimilated, I have learned, I have experienced altogether different world. So this is what imagination is all about. So we have to recall, we have to get into the habit of. So what are the types of imagery that we use normally for description? Now I'm going to describe why auditory, why visual, why tactile, why olfactory. Auditory, like some of the guys, they learn through music. They have sharp ears. They hear the noise, the silence, and they are very good at, excellent at. And there are some visual learners. We always say that learning preference or learning styles. Actually, that's nothing more than using our sensory perceptions to the best of our abilities, and we cannot employ all of them at the same time. We refine, we fine-tune. So visual could be colors, patterns, shapes. Olfactory, nice fragrances, and we can always think of good fragrances for good ambience and good atmosphere and we get to feel self-esteem. What is gustatory? This is about discover what we taste, and sour, could be sweet, bitter, salty, acidic. Now, what do these things have to do with imaginative writing? You might be wondering, and actually, they are the ingredients that we employ to cook up the finest, gourmet any chef could think of, like preparing the best food. So these are the ingredients that we need to employ, and if we don't do that, our writing doesn't get, it's just a bland and it's really repetitive and it doesn't inspire our readers. So I would like our listeners here, draw your head, then fill it with words and pictures showing what's going on in there. Right now, can you come up with some of the words that's going on in your head? Probably you might be thinking of, the sooner this webinar is over, the better. Or probably you might be thinking of what is lying ahead. So can you think of some of the words, like that's coming to your mind right away? Yes, Abdul Karim. Yeah. You need all your sense to be creative. Yes. And we are hardly able to employ all of them to the best of our, because sometimes we are really, there's a mic on, and I would love to hear something from somebody. Yeah, what's going on in your head? Can you think of, can you tell me something? Plain and simple. Must be thinking of how to go shopping or what? Or how about being, having a nap early, having a good food, good meal early, and go to bed and relax. So this guy's mind is full of, could be, all sorts of conflicting ideas going on in the head. So this is how, when we think of writing, our brain is full of ideas and thoughts of different kinds. But how to glean the facts? Now, I really want to be, descriptive sentences, and that's what makes a writing, readable. So if we compare these two pictures to our days in the week, like today is what? Today is Wednesday. Now, how do you describe Wednesday compared to other days in the week? Now, with this picture, it stands for what? Which day? It could be the day when you have to attend this session or what? Probably. It could be the day when you are supposed to do a lot of assignments, a lot of tasks ahead, probably lots of things that you really don't like doing. And the other picture could be the day when it's a pleasant, like Friday and weekends and all that. Guys, do you agree with me, or is there another perspective or perception to this?